we are here in a room where there is a vortex. I'm a sensitive. I can feel vortexes. I can tell you exactly where it is in the room. And it starts affecting my third eye, my crown chakra, and the rest of the chakras, obviously. And you're very aware of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've actually been doing a radio show with my brother, and we were on Skype video, and literally it was in this room here, but he could see with the camera into this area.
Yeah.
And he said, John, 2 grays just came through behind you. Turn around. And I'm like, no way. And I turned around, and for just the briefest couple of seconds, you could see 2 of them literally come through. And then they just disappeared someplace. So I have no idea where they went. But definitely the gate is here, or vortex, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so at this point, you had an experience 2 nights ago.
Right.
It was filmed, but you saw the film after it was done. Is that correct?
I saw photographs on a device. Okay.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about it, one, it's daylight.
Right.
Okay, it's full daylight. So we're not talking about, just some spooky photograph in dingy light. We're talking, clearly visible, full frame, the face of a gray. And it wasn't a little gray, it was a full-size one.
Have you ever filmed a gray?
No.
No. Why is that? Is it because you've tried and failed, or did you just
I've
never
always
try?
The only time that I have ever seen the grays was when they were trying to do something bad, and so I was in the process of fighting with them. I mean, other than hand-to-hand combat with them over 18, 19 years here, that's all I've ever had contact with them. They don't speak to me. They don't use telepathy. They don't do anything. They just do bad things to animals. They do bad things to people. And, they're just little assholes. This man came walking up the driveway, and he had a machete. And he didn't have a shirt on, and he looked sort of disheveled, and much the way you might think that, maybe some old vet or something like that who'd, been left out in the sun too long or something. That's what he appeared to me, and I'm not putting vets down because I'm very much a fan of all vets. Thank you for your service. But in this particular case, that's what he reminded me of. In practice, you see people sometimes like that.
Sure.
And he wandered up the path, and I figured long ago when I moved out here I might need a gun. So I had gone out and purchased a .357 revolver, and I kind of stuck it down the back of my pants, and I walked outside, because the guy had a weapon. And I didn't know if it was going to evolve into some kind of, incident. And I greeted him as cordially as I could, with caution. And I said, good afternoon. Could I help you with something? And he looked at me and he said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I just bought this property. And he said, you don't live here. And he mentioned the name of the people that we'd bought it from. He said, they live here, and they told me to make sure that nobody comes around here and messes with their stuff. And I said, well, sir, I'm sorry to tell you this, but they're gone. They don't live here anymore. And he said, well, you see that building back there on the back of the property? And I said, yes. And he says, that's where I live. And that's what we call our tack room. Okay, it's just a place where you store feed and saddles and things like that for the horses. And he said, that's my place back there. And I said, well, it's not your place anymore. That's part of my place. And I don't know you, and quite frankly, I don't need your services. And I'd appreciate it if you just kind of turn yourself around and head back out the gate. And he looked at me and he said, you're going to wish I was here. And I looked at him, and he had a firm grip on that machete. And I was thinking to myself, man, I don't want to have to shoot this guy.
Right.
I just moved here. It's not a good way to start off.
Yeah.
And he said, you are really going to be sorry. And I said, well, what am I going to be sorry about? Because I thought he was kind of trying to intimidate me and threaten me a little bit. And what he said was, there's monsters on this property.
Incredible.
And I looked at him and I said, well, what kind of monsters? And he said, well, there's aliens here. And I said, oh, come on. And I looked at him and I was just like, well, now I know the guy's a nutcase. You know, believe me, that has rung in my ears for 19 years that I was sorry that I said that. And he said, no, there's really aliens here. They're monsters. And I said, so what do you do that's important to, you know, that you should be here? And he goes, well, I kill them. And I said, you kill them? He goes, yeah, that's what this machete's for.
Okay, so we're gonna go and film around here,
Sure.
and I'd like to hear the explanation of the sword, and so let's do that, and then we're gonna wrap this up because your dogs need to go out and
Right.
you know
Right.
all that
Gotta
kind of
do
thing,
ranch duty.
and the lights are going down already, so we want to catch whatever filming we can outside as well. So if you can demonstrate the sword and tell me again how many grays you really think that you battled with, and why you chose to battle with a sword.
If you look around, you see brick walls.
Yeah.
Bullets and brick walls, not a good thing.
Okay. Now go ahead and show us the sword and why you. Again, you can't use bullets. So the grays were here. What were the
I
circumstances?
experimented with
8
lots of different weapons. I mean,
Okay,
I
so they
started-
came here and they're in. Are you talking about this room or anywhere in the ranch?
No. There's a master bedroom on the other side over here,
Okay.
and they've either pretty much landed, embarked, I don't know what you want to call it, in there,
Okay.
or they've landed out on the area where the dogs are, where
All
the
right.
bird is, to the point where the bird has actually developed a vocabulary to describe them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, she calls them the little dark ones.
Oh.
And she says, bad, bad, bad. And usually, I mean, she's kind of like my Flintstones alarm system.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the moment something weird happens, she starts screaming, John!
Yeah?
And she screams my name. And you can hear her on the back of the property.
Wow.
That's how loud she is. She freaks out. And so she's really good at, you know, telling us something's going to happen or something's happening. At any rate, I started with nunchucks because I thought, you know, that'll work. And actually they work pretty well. But
What's a nunchuck? I don't even know.
it's a martial arts weapon.
Okay.
2 sticks with a chain together or
Okay.
put together with a leather cord, and they're a very effective ancient weapon, and they actually work pretty well because they're quiet and they can do some real damage.
So, do you throw them at the alien?
No, you just bop them with them.
You hit them with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or you
What is the alien doing when you're hitting them or stabbing them? They're that close to you that you can do that?
see, the thing about it is that's a bit strange, and that is that I had a very severe head injury in 1973, and I had some long-term damage to my skull as a result of it, and apparently the fear, you know, you always hear about people going through fear paralysis. That doesn't happen to me, and they don't know it a lot of times, and so I can just kind of pretend like I'm being affected.
Oh, all right.
And then when they come to try to lay hands, they get the big surprise.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've experimented with a lot of things over the years. I mean, can of hairspray with a butane lighter. They're not ready for that one. You know.
Okay, so is this at night when this is happening?
Well, the really severe one that I was actually able to run one through with a sword on the patio out here, the porch, sun porch, whatever you want to call it. That actually happened in full daylight. It was about 5:45 p.m. and it was still sunny. So that wasn't at night.
Okay, and the one you did with the sword when you were propelled to do that, was that in defense of your dog that got injured, or was that
No, what happened, this is part of the same episode. I literally was walking through those doors to go out there to take the dogs out, and lo and behold, there was a gray right in front of me.
Oh.
And so I came back through the doors, grabbed the sword, and ran out there and just stabbed him and got him.
And he didn't leave.
Well, that was the thing. I think I kind of caught him off guard. And I mean, I literally ran the sword directly through the midsection and literally got so close that I was probably 6 inches, maybe 8 inches away from the face. And I mean, I literally heard a hiss come out of this thing, and I could actually smell it. And when I pulled the sword out to go back to try to take the head off, it just disappeared.
Okay, I know we're overdoing our extension here, but I do want to say you killed a gray, you stabbed a gray with the sword. Can you pull the sword out of the sheath so that people can see what we're talking about?
That's it.
And are you able to get this on camera? And were you trained to use such a sword?
I wouldn't say that I was, like a graduate of the Kung Fu Academy or anything like that, but I've invested some time.
Okay, and when did you invest that time? When this was
After
happening?
I learned that all this stuff, that I had to have an accurate weapon, I self-educated.
All right, and what year was that you learned you had to have a weapon?
About 1997.
Long time.
Been a while, yeah. I mean, I'm not like Bruce Lee or something. It's,
No,
this isn't Enter the Dragon.
But you're still to this day using it?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
How recently?
A couple nights ago, a few
Really?
nights ago.
And did you kill anything with it, or just
It never got. We had a gray in the bedroom with my wife, and it literally she wears a CPAP machine, a CPAP mask, and it literally went up and pinched off the hose to the point where she was turning blue. And I woke up because I could hear her gasping.
kidding?
No. And so I always keep the sword pretty much around me. It's usually within reach.
Okay.
And grabbed the sword and disappeared before I could do anything about it.